Just listen to this reading and you'll see why it seems so appropriate for tonight. A philosopher came to Buddha one day and asked this question: without words, without the word less, will you tell me the truth? Without words and without the word less, will you tell me the truth? He's asking something impossible. But near a Buddha, the impossible becomes possible. And only near a Buddha, the impossible becomes possible. For there, all laws, all ordinary laws, are broken. When you're before a Buddha, near a Buddha, then all laws, all ordinary laws are broken. By the way, every reading, this is a secret about me, every reading that I offer had a special meaning, a special message for me. And I assume that since Sri Brahmananda has said every reading that anyone is exposed to holds a special meaning for that person. So listen tonight for something in here that is going to change you in a way that will open the nut of your heart. There's something in every reading. And the other thing I want to tell you is that every time I hear about Buddha or Lao Tzu or Li Tzu, Confucius, any of the great enlightened beings, it feels as though Sri Brahmananda is being explained to us. Because all enlightened beings react to people, react to situations, react to laws in the same way. They are in a different world, a different frequency. And so it's again getting closer and closer and closer to our own enlightenment. Because the closer you feel to a Buddha, to a Guru, a Mohammed, a Ramana Maharshi, a Krishnamurti, the closer you feel connected to these, it means the closer you are to your own enlightenment. Because they are only being reflected through you back to them. It's the same light. It's like a mirror before you. That's what this reading should be, a mirror, reflecting back to you your own light. Now what is he asking? He's asking, without words and without the word less, will you tell me the truth? This has happened many times. It also happened once before with Buddha. Another man came, but that man must have been totally different qualitatively, because Buddha behaved differently. There are many disciples, students at this ashram, but if you asked each of these disciples and students, and many people who knew Sri Brahmananda, who are not at this ashram, if you were to ask him or her to describe Sri Brahmananda, they would describe Sri Brahmananda in a million different ways. So you wouldn't know who Sri Brahmananda was. Because Sri Brahmananda related to you, reacted to you, according to where you were qualitatively, what level of understanding. So some of us saw him as a father figure, some of us saw him as our best friend who loved us unconditionally, whom we could tell anything to, and he said, that's only the mind. Don't care. That's only your mind. You are not the mind. He didn't even hear our complaints about ourselves, wouldn't relate to them. Sometimes he seemed very mysterious, almost a little scary, because he did have powers. He had powers of projection, powers of transference. He knew the future. He would look at you, Rebecca, and know 3 generations, your grandparents, your parents, and you. He would know. We tested him many times, and we never found that anything he predicted or said didn't happen. It takes time. Some people were told, very soon, someone, your soulmate is coming. Very soon. And the young woman went running around. Guruji said, very soon. Not only my soulmate, he said, my husband, very soon. 8 years went by. 10 years went by. And the young woman came to me and she said, I never thought I'd say this, but it seems Guruji was wrong. I said, why? I haven't met anyone. I said, oh, you know, soon has a different meaning for an enlightened person. Soon may mean only 10,000 lifetimes from now. He doesn't think in terms of soon like we do. You wait. And sure enough, another 5 years, 15 years went by, and someone came. Someone came. But it didn't mean this lifetime even. Could have been another lifetime. My son visited Sri Brahmananda because he was about to leave for California to relocate, and he wanted to say goodbye to Guruji. And he came on a Thursday, and they talked, and our son hadn't visited Guruji that often, and they were very close. And Guruji said things, and Brett never told what he said, but he did tell this part. When he was about to leave, he thanked Guruji, and he took leave, and he was just about to walk through the doorway when he turned and he said, Guruji, is there anything I can do for you? I'm going to California, but is there anything I can do for you? And he said, I'll let you know. 4 days later, Guruji left his body. Our son left for California, and Guruji left his body that same weekend. And when we called our son, he was on the road traveling to California, we told him, and he said, how are you? I said, we're all right. And I said, it's odd. Remember what you asked Guruji when you were leaving his room? You asked if there's anything you could do, and he said he'll let you know. And our son said, and he will. There was no break in the connection. He's still waiting. It's almost 18 years now. But our son doesn't have that sense of time. He just feels that connection is there, and one day he will be, as we all are given very clear signs when we're supposed to serve and do and help and give back. So, I was saying that this story touched something very deep within me because it was really only after Guruji left his body, when I wasn't so confused by his human form, that I really, and many of us, really began to understand the power and the magic of this person we called our friend and teacher and father figure. So reading something like this about the Buddha brings me and brings you, if you've ever known someone who is either fully enlightened or approximately enlightened, it brings you closer. Without words and without the wordless, will you tell me the truth? A Buddha has no fixed answers. A Buddha has no obsession because he has no mind. Whenever a person comes before him, he's just like a mirror. He reflects the person. Another man asked the same question. The man came and asked, "Sir, can you tell me something about the truth without using words?" Buddha answered in this way, "Then you will have to ask without using words. You ask without words, and I will tell without words." That means that question has to be asked on that level. Then he can answer. If you cannot ask without using words, how do you expect me to answer without words? So you go, you train yourself. Be ready to ask that question without using words. Then come. But that was another man. To this philosopher, Buddha didn't reply in that way. And really, this man was asking a different question, because this man was different. The question carries the meaning of the person. The question has no meaning in the words. The question carries you, carries your quality. You can ask the same question, but it cannot mean the same. If you are different, the question will be different. A word carries meaning from the person. A word in itself is meaningless. You may consult dictionaries and you may come to know the meaning of the words, but that's not a real live meaning. It's a dead meaning. When a person uses a word, he gives it a live meaning, a real meaning. The significance comes from the person. So this man asked, what had he asked? He asked a very subtle question. He said, without words and without the word less, will you tell me the truth? Without words, that's easy. You can remain silent. But without the word less, it becomes impossible. Because if you remain silent, you are using the word less. And the man has asked, don't use words. And don't use no words. Just tell me the truth. Aren't you glad I chose this reading? Silence won't help. Words won't help. Language will not be of much use. And silence also is not of much use. Then what is Buddha going to do? The Buddha kept silence, but this silence is different. Now we'll first learn about silence. There are two types of silence. When you, and myself, when you keep silence, that's a forced stillness. Words are there within you. Noise is there. Silence is just on the surface. That's not the silence I want to happen here. I don't want a forced silence. I want it to be what you'll hear about very soon. So when it's forced, you look silent, but you're not silent. This is one type of silence that you know. There's another type of silence that on the surface you are also silent, and you can be forced inside also to be silent. That's if you are in danger. Somebody threatens you that he's going to hurt you, destroy you. Then you'll become silent inside also. But this silence will be wordless. The first silence, when on the surface you were silent, inside there were words. There were a lot of words, chattering words, when you forced that silence. That was silence with word, inner words. The second silence, when you're being threatened, will be wordless silence. There will be no noise within, because in a dangerous situation, in a shock, the noise has stopped. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I took 2 very bad falls once on the streets of New York. There are a lot of potholes on the sidewalks. You know that. Maybe even where you live. And I remember a strange sensation as I was going down. It was as if I were going down in slow motion. And it was very quiet. Did anybody ever have that? When you were falling down or something dangerous was happening, it's as though time and sound stood still. You were in a moment of shock. That's what he's talking about. In that second silence will be wordless silence. There will be no noise within, because in a dangerous situation, in a shock situation, the noise has stopped. But still, that's not a Buddha silence. A Buddha silence is a third type of silence which you have not known. It is neither with noise nor with no noise. Buddha is silent. Not that he has forced his words to be silent. It's not a stillness with effort. He's simply silent because there's nothing else to do. A Buddha's silence is silence that is not forced, only because there's nothing else to do. Sometimes at this ashram, a person, a guest, or sometimes even one of us, would ask a question that was so superficial and so away from the topic that Sri Brahmananda had been speaking on, that he would just, I'm going to use you because you're so calm, he would just look. And we could see by his face, he wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't trying to teach anything. It's just there was nothing to do but look at the person. Oh, if I keep looking at you, I'll be gone. You have a beautiful stillness in you right now. And now I realize that he wasn't trying to embarrass anyone or teach anyone anything. It was just he didn't know what to say, because the question was down here and he was over here. He couldn't answer this. It's like saying to a great guru after he has lectured on the beauty of Yoga Vedanta and of atomic power that yogis have. And he says, any questions? And someone says, I know this is Guruji, I'm hungry. Is there a local delicatessen nearby? it would be like nonsense to Gurji. He would have to just stare at the person, because it would be like Greek to someone who knew only Sanskrit and Hindi and Urdu. Greek. But that's what happens when a Buddha has nothing to do. There's nothing to be done. I was very moved and excited when I read these words. He says, a Buddha's silence is a third type. A Buddha is silent, not that he has forced his words. No, it's not a stillness with effort. He is simply silent because there's nothing else to do. This silence is positive, not the opposite of words. This silence is in the middle, not on the other extreme. One extreme is words, the other extreme is wordlessness. This silence is just in the middle. There's no word, there's no wordless, there's no wordlessness. He is simply silent, not against noise. If you are against noise, then your silence can be disturbed very easily. You know, many people who are praying or meditating, and then a child starts laughing and giggling, and right away they're disturbed. There's some noise on the street, traffic noise, somebody honking the horn. Right away, the meditators, so-called, are disturbed. A silence that is forced can be disturbed very easily. Only a silence that is forced can be disturbed. But if you are really silent in the sense of a Buddha, and a child starts giggling, a bird starts singing, someone honks the horn, the noise will be there, but you are not disturbed. The noise will come and pass, just as in an empty room. The noise comes from this door and goes from that door. How is that? Because there's nobody inside who can be disturbed. But if you have a forced silence, then you are there. The ego is there. How will this be applied in a practical way by you and by me? Because I'm with you this weekend. I'm witnessing, I'm watching, I'm learning, I'm discovering, I'm revealing to myself. How will this help me and you? It won't help you if the noise is going on and you're not disturbed. That won't help you, because you're in a Buddha no mind. It will help you if there is noise and you are disturbed, because it will indicate to you, not only indicate, it will go, hey, that's bothering you, that noise? Then you're not really in silence. Silence can come about wordlessly, without words, and without wordlessness, only when we're in the witnessing state, which is the now. When we're in the now, witnessing effortlessly, that's the Buddha no mind state. So we don't learn about ourselves when we're in our real form, when we're in the state of no mind, but we learn through the negative, when we're disturbed by anything, by a memory, by a sound, by a sensation in our body. Our Guru had a massive stroke, and his body was experiencing, his senses experienced a lot of pain when he was in the body. But when he wasn't in the body, and the body was just there, all of you know, when you're caught up with something passionately, when you love to do something, there have been basketball players, dancers, painters, who in terrible pain, a broken ankle, played wonderful ball, painted beautiful paintings, standing on that broken ankle. And afterwards it didn't even pain them more, because they had transcended the body that was in pain. We can learn to do this by the simple practice of witnessing. There are many of you here who have the witnessing CD, from second to second, witnessing from second to second. But those who don't have that, if there's anything you buy in the gift shop this weekend, it's my voice, but it's Gurji's meditation. I just was the instrument for it. It's owned by the ashram, and everybody who has that witnessing album blesses the ashram for it, blesses Gurji for it, because it is the best medication and meditation you could ever have. You'll see. It's the best. I don't know what they're charging for it, but whatever they're charging, it's worthwhile. If you don't have it, please get it. Because we'll be talking a lot, and we'll be meditating on that tomorrow after the film, to give you a taste of it so you can see for yourself. Remember, if you have a forced silence, then you are there. The ego is there, just riding on the mind, just forcing the mind, just making every effort to be silent. This is a constrained, strained silence. It can be disturbed very easily. Even a child can disturb it. So what type of Buddhahood is this that a child can disturb? This is no Buddhahood. This is just a false coin. Remember, while meditating, this will be your deepest problem. It's okay, I'm not disturbed by that. It's just coming and going, that's all. You listen tomorrow, if you're very lucky, a group of honking geese will go by and drown out the sweet sound of little birds chirping. Honk, 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 like that. It's a very good test to see if they disturb you. But if you take that in and see the formation, that can be the witnessing, your meditation. And if your mind, don't judge your mind, say, oh, I have to go home, I can't do this. No, witness that your mind had this reaction. It's a conditioned response to noise. The gurus, the enlightened ones, don't hear noise. They hear sound. You know the difference? We have labeled something that we feel is unpleasant noise. Do I have time to tell a quick story? Yes. I was once in a car with Guruji and two other people from the ashram. And the driver of the car was a man by the name of, I think his name was not Sun Bear. Marv, do you remember his name? Eve's friend. It was a name like Sun Bear. And we were riding along, and there was silence in the car. And I looked at Guruji. We were in the back seat, and the driver and Guruji were in the front. And Guruji had his eyes closed, obviously meditating. We were quiet, watching the scenery. And the man asked Gurji, would it be all right if I put on Native American drums? Gurji. And Gurji said, put it on. And I said, what's that? With the Native American drums. Not only were these the loudest drums I ever heard, but the man put it on full volume. And I saw Gurji jump, and then he just went on meditating. And I said, Sun Bear, he's meditating. He says, I know. I'm meditating too. I said, you are? He was the driver. This is in the 60s or 70s. And I said, I still think you should lower the volume a little. That sound, you may be accustomed to it, but it's too loud. And Gurji said, Jansaval, for you it is too loud. For me, perfect. Meditate, and nothing will be too loud. Years later, I came across this, but I understood. It took a while. It took a while. He did not hear it as noise or loud, even if it were tiny little low sound, and he couldn't hear it at all. He would have been happy. It was just a sound. Low sound, loud sound, made no difference to him. He said, remember, while meditating, this will be your deepest problem. For ordinarily, you are chattering. You can move to the opposite end easily. You can force the chattering not to be there. It's just like a child playing, running around, doing many things uselessly, and you threaten him that he will be punished. You say, sit in that corner. And you are strong. The child is helpless. So he sits in the corner. He looks very Buddha-like, but that child is bubbling, exploding within, just getting ready to get any chance when he can start running again. Look at a child when you have forced him to be silent. That will be the second type of silence. He's not moving. If you force him too much, he will not even move the body. He will close his eyes. But what is he doing? He's forcing himself, fighting with himself, constraint, effort. He is pushing himself down, sitting on his own chest. He will not be able to breathe because he's afraid. Because if you breathe, then movement starts. That's why nobody breathes really. You have lost the dimension of breathing from your childhood when you were forced to be quiet. Everybody breathes just from the upper lungs. The breath cannot go deep because you're afraid. From your very childhood, you have been forced. It reminds me, a child invited me to see her school. She was at the Rudolf Steiner School, I think that was the school. And we entered her classroom, and there was bedlam there. She had a young teacher, and the teacher was writing something at the desk, and the kids were running around and yelling at one another and pulling papers from one another and shouting. The room was in total chaos. I said, what kind of school is this? There's no quiet, there's no silence. And then the teacher took out her flute, and she warmed up the flute, and while she was warming up, all the children got their flutes, because it was flute time. It wasn't time to be quiet, it was time to play the flute. That's how quiet happened. And then the teacher went, meaning, this is the moment you count 1, 2, 3. And they began playing music. And it was so beautiful. But that was a lesson for me. The teacher didn't say, if you're not quiet, we're not having any flute this morning. That's the old-fashioned way. That's how I learned as a child. Can you see the difference? Can you see the difference? First there was the sound of noise, talking, chatting, not even noise, talking, chatting, screaming. And then there was the sound of the flute, the teacher's flute. That was the signal. And when the flute was finished and the children began talking again, the teacher took out the math book, held it up. The children went for their math book. But she allowed them some time to talk and shriek and shout. I said, this is the school I want next lifetime. This is a very good school. I saw the value of it. And now we're being told that we don't even know how to breathe. As we're breathing from the lungs, we don't go deeply. Look at a child sleeping. See what is happening. His chest remains unmoving. His belly moves. His breath goes to the deepest, to the very bottom. His belly moves. His chest is unmoving. This child is still not part of society, meaning a very young child. He's not a citizen. He's still wild. You'll have to train him. Then you'll have to use force. Look at a child when you have threatened him. And look at your monks in the monasteries. You have threatened them also. Afraid of hell, in greed for heaven, they are sitting there, suppressed. Their silence is of the other pole, the other extreme. They are wordless. They have forced the word to disappear, but they are not beyond the two. We once saw a film here called Into Great Silence, and it was a practically silent film because it was a documentary about this monastery where, except for one day a year, there is total silence. And we were watching this film, and it was a little difficult to watch because it just showed you the life of a monk among other monks in silence until they filmed the day when they could talk. And they did not stop talking. They were going sledding, and they were talking about last October. They were talking about what they're going to talk about next year when they talk. And they were talking. It was very funny. We were sitting in the audience laughing because they had stored all this up. Remember, Karen, we showed that film? And on the sounding of the 12th ring of the bell, but it was all going on inside for a year. So, here we go. Look at a child when you have threatened him, and look at your monks in the monasteries. Their silence is of the other pole, the other extreme. They are wordless. They have forced the word to disappear, but they are not beyond the two. Buddha remained silent. Buddha is of the third dimension. He would not say anything. Words are not allowed. He would not suppress the word because the wordlessness was not allowed. He simply remained there, not thinking, not meditating, simply there like a tree. For 500 years after Buddha, his statue was not made. For 500 years, There was no picture of Buddha. And whenever Buddha was to be represented, people just drew the Bodhi tree. That was beautiful, because he was just like a tree. Can you say this tree is silent? You cannot say that, because this tree is never noisy. So how can it be silent? Can you say this tree is meditating? How can it meditate? It has never thought. There has never been thinking. So how can it meditate? There has never been no thinking. Then where is this tree? This tree is in the third dimension, where no chattering exists, and where no chattering exists, and no non-chattering exists. This tree is in the middle, exactly in the middle. You may not be a Buddha, but this tree is a Bodhi tree, a Buddha tree, a Bodhi tree, a wisdom tree. And if you can sit under a tree just like the tree, you will become a Buddha. And any tree could become a Bodhi tree. All trees are. Just Buddhas are needed to discover which tree is a Bodhi tree. Sit under any tree, and if you are in the middle, the tree becomes the Bodhi tree. All trees are. Only somebody is needed to reveal the fact, because trees do not believe in advertising. Otherwise, they would reveal all the time. So the Buddha kept silence, and the philosopher bowed and thanked Buddha, saying, "With your loving kindness, I have cleared away my delusions and entered the true path." No knowledge was transferred, obviously, because you cannot transfer knowledge. That philosopher said, don't use words and don't use no words. I'm fed up with both. I'm fed up with all extreme polarities. I've moved into logic too much. I've moved from this to that. I've lived all the possibilities of logic. Enough. You simply give me the truth without word and without wordlessness. And what happened? What type of transfer happened? What communion happened in this moment? In a single moment, it happened. And the philosopher bowed when it happened, and he thanked Buddha and said, "With your loving kindness is the grace, I have cleared away my delusions and entered the true path." When a Buddha is silent, and if you also can be silent, then being is transferred, not knowledge. Being, the being of Buddha is transferred. Not what Buddha knows, but what Buddha is. Being is transferred. Many times when I felt complaints in my heart against this one or that one, against problems at the ashram, I would never verbalize them. Maybe once in 30 years or twice in 30 years did I bring something that was bothering me to Gurja. I just didn't do it. I thought I had to work through it. But many times I felt disturbed by someone. And Guruji would be walking out of a room where I had attended a program, and he would pass by, and just before he passed by, he would do to me or someone else. Too much thinking going on. Everything is perfect. It's all a dream. Too much thinking going on. Everything is perfect. It's only a dream. In that, I didn't even need his words. This, a bang on the head from a guru, it wasn't this. It was like that. It sounds empty, doesn't it? He banged me, not that hard, but enough to startle me. And that alone, that he cared enough to care. I'm upset now thinking about it. That scolding from a guru, too much thinking going on, that's with all of us. Whenever we're in trouble, too much thinking going on. It's not the other people. They don't know better. If they knew better, they would do better. I learned that in the clinic where I worked. If patients and staff knew better, they would do better. They don't know better. If we knew better, we would do better. We have to break through this conditioning. But when there's no thinking going on, there are no opinions then, there are no preferences then, there's nothing to do. Maheshwari Gail told me that when she asked her daughter, whose name is now Niranjana, what she thought about bin Laden having been killed, her daughter looked at her and said, I don't know. Right? I don't know. Because she wasn't thinking. She was in some kind of meditative moment. So just like the Buddha, there's no opinion. There's no preference. There's no desire. So that silence that Niranjana was keeping was the Buddha silence. Didn't mean she stayed there, but at that moment she wasn't caught up in the chaos that occurred from that happening. I was very moved when you told me that, because that's for all of us. Anytime. If we were meditating, I have to watch the time now. If we were meditating when that news came, and you were deep in meditation, and somebody said, bin Laden's been killed, you would go. But it wouldn't register one way or another, because you were beyond time and space. You were beyond the thinking mind. If you're really meditating, even if you're witnessing, you don't have that reaction. One time, we said to Guruji, we used to meditate 7 a.m. outside of in the back of the main house, looking at the lake. And Guruji was behind us. And somebody would say, oh, Guruji, look at the rainbow. Guruji, look at the rainbow. And he would say, very fine. And I would look, and he wasn't looking. He was seeing his own rainbow. His rainbows were much more beautiful than our rainbows. But the way he said very fine, we could have said, look at the bat coming to your head. Very fine. He was beyond any like or dislike. So this weekend, I think I have to Xerox that reading. It's from, let's see where it's from. I think it's, no water, no moon, by Osho. It's a very beautiful. It's about the Zen anecdotes and his really excellent commentary. I'm not a follower of Rajneesh. He was too radical, little too much for me. But I have never stopped offering his great talks in program. Gurji would always tell us, never mind the personality of anyone. See, when Gurji wants to emphasize a point, he knows how. In case you were sleeping, this is something he wanted you to hear. He would say, never judge a guru, a teacher, by his, her personality. Don't care about that. Judge a guru by the effect, the transformation that takes place in you from having been near that guru or learned from that guru. Don't look at the personality. I know you're coming back. Don't look at the personality, because the personality is not the essence of that guru. That's his conditioned form. It's the same if anybody wants to know you, really, they should know you on a silent weekend. That's when you're in your real form. They should know you when you're happy, because that's when you're in your real form, when your soul is radiant. But when you're having a bad day, send everybody away if you can, because it's not you. It's not you. You know that. All right, Karuna, sit in a comfortable position for you. This weekend is all about your comfort, all about your rest, all about an inner deep healing for you. So that when you return home, this will remain with you for weeks and months. It's happened before to other people. This healing is very deep when you allow your body to rest and you allow your mind to rest. Mind also becomes tired. So take a deep breath, breathe in very deeply. And as you exhale, feel as though you're releasing all the words. And just dissolve into the center of your being. Doesn't matter if your posture isn't good, that doesn't matter. Just feel in a let go. And let your body breathe by itself. You do not breathe. If you allow your body to breathe by itself, that breathing will be very deep from the belly. That will be free breathing. After a moment of silence, Karuna, please end with about 5 minutes of chanting.
Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai 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 Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai 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 Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. Tvameva Mata Shapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarva